Teach your mind to support you instead of bullying you. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Vanessa. Hi. Thank you all for tuning in. I had such a relaxing day today, and I was just taking time for myself, taking it slow, just coming out of the shower, and I had this little download of what to talk about in the video today. And this is such an important topic that really is often misunderstood. So let's get into it. Train your mind to support you instead of letting it bully you. The interesting thing about this is that you change your mind through your body. And that is so much easier. And I don't take the word easy lightly. And stay with me. I'm going to explain you exactly how to do it. It's so much easier to do it through the body than it is through forcing your mind and pushing yourself. That is one way, right? Mind training, mental training, kind of, what is a good word for that? Conditioning yourself and probably also being consistent and strict with yourself. That's one way. That's the way that never worked for me. That's the way where I always fell back into old patterns. Being strict to myself, trying to be consistent with something, but then when a challenge comes, I fall back. If you can relate to that, write in the comments, yes, me too. And at some point, I realized there's an easier way. And whenever I try to use that way of bullying myself into change, into eating the right food, into going to bed early, into staying consistent with a practice, doing something for my job or career or, whatever, keeping the house clean, whatever it is, I would struggle, and then I would, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that, please share below, I would struggle and then I would be angry at myself. I would end up in the same pattern again and just feel lost and disappointed with myself, and like, oh my God, I'm never going to shift that pattern. But then I discovered the power of working with the body and the power of the wisdom of the body. So we actually change our mind, change our brain when we change our body. And here's how. We change our body because our body keeps all the memory in our subconscious, in the nervous system. So every experience we ever experienced is stored in our body, positive and negative. Example could be you smell a certain smell in the kitchen of your friend that you're just visiting right now. And you are like, oh my God, wow, the smell makes me feel like home. Why? And you remember, oh, my grandmother used to make the same cookies. Just a very tiny, simple example, yeah? So your body remembers the smell, yeah? You are basically, through your 5 senses, that are the basic senses. Then we also have the expanded senses, but we'll stay with the basic senses today. So your basic 5 senses are smell, touch, taste, listening, like hearing, and seeing. And the expanded senses are like a hyper-aware version of that, where you can perceive basically extra or let's call it supernatural, information that are not so typical to receive, yeah, like psychic information, where you hear something come through, or where you see something that is not actually physical in the 3D realm, or you have a taste of something that is like far away or whatever. Anyway, that's not the topic today. If you want to learn more about this, just comment below that that you want to learn more about it. But let's get back to the topic. So when we get input through our 5 senses, we are reminded of something that we've experienced in the past, yeah, like a smell or like a taste of food or a drink or whatever. And that also works not just with the positive memories, but also with difficult, challenging memories, yeah. Like, for example, if you've been in a accident and every time you hear like squeaking of wheels, of car wheels, you are like, oh my God, remembering like how it felt like just before like the crash or something. I'm sorry for that example, just the one that came to me. Obviously, there are a million examples we could use. I'm sure you have one in your own head right now. So this is a sign for you that this is just a simple example to showcase you that we store all that information in our body, whether we are aware of it consciously and logically or not. So it could be dormant within you. I'm going to tell you a little story about myself that was really difficult. And so I've had, like many of us, some difficulty in my childhood, and there was some aggression, and my household didn't feel really safe, and there would be sometimes like loud sounds and in the middle of the night that I would wake up to and not feel safe. And a few years ago I had all these old memories that I didn't know even that I had, or that affected me so strongly. I had them come up after a really intense ayahuasca ceremony. So I used to go through a phase where I really enjoyed plant medicine. I did take it with caution, and I had a very good relationship with the ayahuasca medicine, so to say. But that session particularly, I think I just didn't feel safe enough to express everything that was coming up. So I hold something back because I didn't want to be too expressive in the session because there's always other people around. So I think the environment didn't feel 100% safe for me to fully process all the things that the ayahuasca showed me, so to say, or wanted to lead me through. If you hear sound in the background, there's just some cats. So that opened basically me up to my subconscious dormant memories of fear, PTSD actually, like unprocessed fear that was still contracted in my body. And I went through a really difficult phase of panic attacks and anxiety, and at that moment I didn't actually know what it was, what I was going through. But retrospectively I could see, oh wow, that was old trauma coming up. That was my body remembering and washing out for me to release. That was something that was still stored. And that is an extreme example. I hope you don't have to go through these kinds of things, but I know a lot of people do have anxiety to different degrees, and if you do, share below. I would really love to know, so I can make more content on that for you. If that helps you, let me know. But yeah, we're all going through varying degrees of anxiety, whether we overwork, whether we feel overwhelmed in life through some reason, whether we have like these attachments or to partners or to things, to food, to sex, whatever, like unhealthy attachments. That all comes from certain patterns within us that were often created in childhood or growing up, or even in your early 20s. Or sometimes trauma can also be created later in life. So it really depends. But often, like the biggest influence on our patterns and on our being happens in childhood. So that's where we often have to go back to, not linger in it, but have to go back to in order to process something that is now coming up for us to be released. I hope that makes sense. If not, ask a question below and I'll answer it. So when we try to change our mind, when we try to get out of a looping pattern, out of a behavior, and get into more alignment, when we force ourselves to do that through the mind and through discipline, it's hardly working, and it's hardly sustainably staying like that, because the real thing is that we have a conflict within us, within our parts. And that is exactly what I was talking about. All the programming, the beliefs, the trauma we have stored in our nervous system has created layers of protection and has created layers of defense mechanisms. So if you learned in childhood it's not safe for you to move, yeah, or it is safe for you to eat a lot to keep you grounded and keep you feeling safe, then you will not let go of that pattern because it makes you feel safe. The difference is that you are an adult now and you don't need those old behavior patterns anymore to keep you safe, because you can say no. You have free will. You're more able. A child is often like more helpless. Like, where would they go, right? They are dependent on a caretaker or a parent to take care of them and help them survive. Yeah, so that's why we develop in childhood these patterns that sort of create safety around us, and we adapt to the situations that we're exposed to in order to, survive, to stay alive, to sleep, to get food, to get water, mostly the basic things, to get love. And that's the patterns that we keep unconsciously with us as we become adults. So that's why when you feel like you cannot change a pattern, or you're always deciding for lack of better word, wrong people to trust, or for, food that doesn't make you feel energized and healthy, or for sex partners that are not, respectful, or, like all these kinds of patterns. There's so many. Or you're choosing a job where you're not valued, or all these kind of things. I'm sure you have your own example. That is because we have patterns within us that keep us safe. And so the real work is not in changing your brain or changing your mind. The real work is changing your body memory and releasing held pain, shame, and programming. And we do that through closing our eyes down, taking a few deep breaths, and learning how to feel into your body. And I know that is challenging for many of you, and that's valid, because we have not been taught that in school or growing up. Most of us at least haven't been taught that. So it's a practice like any other. If you are learning to cook, if you are learning to play piano, that takes time, right? So learning to listen to your body takes time too. But I promise you, once you learned how to do it, it's going to be a lifelong tool that you can use in every area of your life. It's like, I cannot tell you how essential it is to know how to feel inside and process. And a big part of that is, and I speak about this in many of my videos, connecting to the parts that are in conflict. Yeah, so it's not about forcing your brain to change, but actually feeling inside of your body, feeling where you feel a contraction in your body. And where the contraction sits, first of all, I know it's going to take a little bit of time to learn how to feel where there is a contraction, or like a pain or a tension in your body. And once you learn to connect and feel where it sits, you can start breathing into it. And imagine that there, in this space where you have that tension, is a part of you that feels either afraid or scared, which is the same, I guess, or ashamed or sad or, angry, any of those emotions. And I know it sounds a little bit abstract, but just watch a few of my other videos, then you will really understand. Because when we connect to our inner parts, this is the pathway to understanding ourselves better and resolving the conflict that we have within ourselves of why we cannot overcome a pattern or a behavior or change how we do things and how we behave, it always is based in trying to keep ourselves safe. Part of ourselves within us that has learned to do certain things and behave in certain ways, or be scared of taking action on certain things in order to survive, be loved, be appreciated, whatever it is for you. Yeah, that's specific to everybody. So the best thing you can do is start practicing listening, tuning into your body, and start listening to your inner parts, and to find out what part is in conflict with what you actually want. Because you can want something consciously and logically from your adult self, but if there's an inner child part within you that is afraid to go there because it learned like, no, I cannot do that, then this is how the conflict is created, and this is where we need to go to resolve it. Going inwards, getting in touch with that part, hearing it out, as if you would speak to your little sister or your little brother or your child or whatever, and hear them out, because that's what they didn't receive back then. And again, no judgment to caretakers or parents. I'm sure they did the best that they could with the knowledge that they had. And it's all about, that's the beauty of being an adult. Now you get to reparent yourself and get in touch with that inner child. And I know that sounds abstract, but just go with it. And ask them, really as if you would ask a friend or your daughter or your brother or whoever, hey, what do you need? Why do you feel unsafe to take that step with me? Oh, because if I express myself, I will be judged. Or if I become this and this person, I will be in danger, or whatever, you know. Again, it could be a million examples here. I recommend you start, if you want to get started today, you can start with my free meditation, emotional release meditation, that's below. It says in the recording it's an anger release meditation, but it really works for any emotion. It's a guided meditation. It leads you through the whole process. And if the first time you do it, you have a hard time getting out of your head, just know that's completely normal, because your head is basically conditioned to keep you safe. The thing is that the way that it learned to keep you safe doesn't serve you anymore in adulthood. It may have served you in childhood or growing up, but it doesn't serve you as an adult. So in order to retrain your brain, we need to get to those emotional parts and release the emotional charge. Everything I just explained to you in this video. The thing that we have to do with our brain, though, is basically through listening through that meditation several times, you're going to get into a safer feeling of letting your mind go to the places of your subconscious, to the places of your inner child and your emotions. Because if you're a very heady person and you're always trying to intellectualize and, find a solution with your head, you gotta do this a few times more than somebody who's already connected to the emotion. And again, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the way that you have trained yourself. So it's time to retrain. And by doing the meditation a few times, you will learn to let go a little more of your mind so that you can get to these emotions and change the root cause, so that you don't need to constantly discipline yourself into changing your pattern, changing your behavior. That will be just a normal consequence of bringing harmony into your inner world, into those parts that are currently in conflict with each other. Yeah? By resolving the conflict, you're going to resolve the limiting belief, the limiting pattern, and you're going to naturally afterwards be attracted to, healthier, self-serving behaviors. Yeah. If you have any questions, put them in the chat below. I know this is a strong, deep topic, so if you need to listen to it again, this is really something that is essential, and I recommend you to not just listen and stop and skip, listen again. This is the work, and then the other work will feel so much easier. Okay? If you like this video, leave a thumbs up, comment below where you are with that. If you have any questions, put them all in the chat box below. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. I really, really appreciate you and you taking the time to watch these videos. That's all. If you haven't yet, subscribe, and I see you in the next video. Ciao.